So I think at this point my kid knows I'm making a vlog and she keeps coming in and out of the house on purpose because I told her I didn't want to put her in my videos and because YouTube doesn't like that and she thinks it's funny. So can you get out? Can you get out? I'm not even gonna put this on YouTube. So go ahead. Thank you.
Bye.
I'd like to just get this done. Now my video is gonna get no views.
Oh dang.
No views. Because now she's outside telling her friends my YouTuber dad's in there making a vlog. It's I probably won't put this in there, but maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. YouTube always, I tried making some funny videos with her in it, and YouTube is like 1 view, and it's probably a family member who sees it. So maybe I'll put it in here when I'm done. Maybe I won't. So that's fine. Old van's gone, got a new van, and I'm working. And it's not funny. It's not funny.
I'm sorry, I want water.
Well, hello and welcome to the vlog again. I've had to restart this video about 5 times because my kid thinks it's funny to keep coming in and out the door. Because she knows I'm finally making this after 3 weeks of saying I was going to do it. And you might notice in a minute, I got another one who wants to be in the video. Oh, nope, he's going to hang out. Alright, so, here we go. Hey, welcome to the vlog. Thinking about being a pilot car, thinking it looks cool, watch some of my videos. I said I was going to make this vlog here probably about 10 times in the last 3 weeks. I did a bunch of lives over the last few weeks and had a lot of people say, well, that looks cool, how do you get into doing it? And I said, well, I'd kind of break down my story in a video here and explain my take on it and why it's definitely for some people and it's really not for most people. And that's not to say, like, don't get into it. Well, why do you do it? Well, because I had a leg in, I had a helping hand, I had good teachers, and I had backing. And if you don't have any of those things, then this is definitely a job or a career choice, or it could be a very costly lesson in life to just jump into it. So I said I'd make this video, I'd break it down, and maybe talk about some numbers and what the reality is of it, because of course it looks like in my videos, it looks, oh, this is crazy, we're making all sorts of great money, and you see all these huge loads and cops and all this stuff. That must be really expensive. Well, you might be surprised, because this is the pilot car side of it, which is actually the lowest paid side of the whole thing. Anybody else in any other part of the move is going to be like, pilot cars, it's so expensive. Well, that's just because they make a bunch of money and you make a bunch of money, but not giving your money away. And that means to us too. So that's all part of the story, all part of the vlog. So thanks for subbing. Thanks for coming over to the channel, and we'll get into it. All right. So becoming a pilot car, my story. And it's maybe not necessarily the same for everybody. The people who have gotten into it, they all have different stories and reasons they started doing it. But a huge thing over the last 5 years is around COVID, there was, I guess, a really big, I'll call it a tic-tacker there, who, when COVID had everything shut down and people weren't working, they were making these, hey, look at this job. This is a awesome, they called it a 6-figure side hustle. Yeah, that's what they called it, a 6-figure side hustle. And they threw in some cool pictures of like pilot cars and trucks and all this stuff, and said, this job, you follow around, these big trucks on the highway, and you can make like $500 to $1,000 a day, and yada yada yada, right? Well, because of that video, probably thousands of people saw that video on TikTok because they were stuck at home with COVID, and decided to do a little research, jump on the internet, hit Google, and said, I can do this. This seems easy. Well, that's funny. I said Google, so my phone opened up and wants to give me an answer to something, but I don't need an answer. I already know the answer, and I'm giving it to you. All of these people came out and jumped into doing it with no experience, no backing, really no money to back them, and a lot of them have gone out since then. But truth be told, there's still a lot of them out here, and they're not necessarily the safest people to have on the road, but that's a whole nother topic. My story. I got into this through a past relationship. I did a different job for 20 years. I was a landscaper for about 20 years working for myself, and through all that time, for about 15 of those 20 years, I had another full-time job, at a factory, or mostly at a factory in my adult life, which was my base, and then my landscaping was, the extra money, because life's expensive. And eventually I went full-time with it and just did the landscaping for years. And through a relationship and meeting new people, I got introduced to being a pilot car, which I couldn't have told you the first thing about this or what this was prior to my involvement in that. So, long story short, or it won't be short. I don't know how long this is going to be. How long can I ramble before my kid interrupts me? I decided to give it a try one winter when snow plowing season was going really slow. And in that moment, I thought, wow, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. It was a really easy load. I was just behind a truck it was a beam in the middle of a little bit, in the middle of a trailer. It just stuck out past the end of the trailer. So this guy, I was there as a formality because he was longer than the truck was, which makes him oversized, and they need a pilot car then. He didn't need me back there. So this was one of those situations where it's just keep up with the truck and stay behind him. Like, he doesn't need you. He can see everything. So go with the flow. So when I got done with that job, as my first job, I was like, wow, this is literally the easiest money I've ever made in my life, because I'm used to shoveling 10 yards of mulch a day, landscaping, or cutting 25 yards and working till dark and just busting my back, which is a whole nother part of this video here, but I could squeeze it in here. I was healthy back then, and by healthy, I mean I was physical and, that type of hard work. You're exercising every day, so I was more muscular. I was skinny, and I don't want to say skinny. I haven't gotten big doing this, but I'm definitely not in the physical shape I was doing that. And that's a whole nother aspect, and you can see it in trucking in general, as drivers sit and drive and eat, and then they gain weight, and they become really unhealthy. And I don't know the statistics, so I don't want to put it out here, but I'm going to put a close one, that somewhere around 17 years, I think they say that professional drivers usually pass away about 17 years earlier than most other people. So there is that. That's another part to think about. But I got into doing this, and then I was doing both jobs. And because I was trying to do two jobs, one that has to take place at home, one that has to take place 2,000 miles from home, it wasn't working, and I was stringing myself out, and it was just a lot. I was more tired than doing 30 grass cuts a day with all the running around I was doing. So I decided to make the transition and get into this full time and just do the one, which was a good decision, and I think it's still a good decision now, but only because I was working with a company that had a long history. So there was customers, there was people calling, and I had, I'll say a tutor. I was apprenticing to somebody who's been in the industry for a really long time. So literally the best teacher I could have ever had doing this. And when you have a teacher like that, you already have set yourself above, let's say, all those people that came from TikTok who watched a couple of YouTube videos or Googled some things and have no idea what they're doing. So it worked out, and it was really good. But the cost breakdown of this is where it starts to get crazy. So I said I would talk about numbers, and I'm not going to put a big fancy graph up here in the corner because I don't know how to do that. I'm a new YouTuber. I'm close to being monetized, but I'm not. And if it means learning new computer work and how to put stuff in there and graphs and charts, that's not going to be my video. So if you need a pen and paper to write this stuff down to figure it out, go for it. I will pull out my calculator when I want to know what the number is here so I can say it on the video. My best year was just shy of $120,000. I think it was $118,000 and some change. And that sounds like a lot of money. Now, mind you, that was like the rates were a little lower at the time, and I worked 275 days that year, and a lot of those stints were being gone for 2-week trips and 3-week trips. I was never home. It was go. And long term, and 108, that's not how I want to say it, but $118,000 sounds really good. But that's where you have to bring in if you don't know, net versus gross. Well, to fast forward to today, I'm on my own now. So for the last year, or since I'll say January or February of this year, I've been working independently for myself. And with that, you don't get the same insurance discounts that you get when you're on a multi-policy. Things are a little more expensive. I've picked up a couple secondary policies that are recommended in this job, which cost a few $1,000s more than your base automotive policy. And the reason I say base automotive policy is it's not really base, because there is a specific insurance that you do have to have. I said that wrong. I'm going to correct myself. I need a sip of soda before I do. It's Friday night, so having a soda, and I would say what it was, but I made a video that went kind of viral on YouTube and Facebook there about accidentally grabbing we'll call it a PBR, right? And it went really viral, and PBR hasn't reached out to extend a brand endorsement, so I'll be sure not to put them in my videos anymore, and I'll just stick with Soda Pop. So anyways, as I was saying, $118,000, but now that I'm working on my own, the cost breakdown to what it actually is and how you end up with your net income. So 118, and right off the top, we talk about the base insurance policy. Well, you don't have to, by law, have the insurance I'm talking about in a bunch of states. You don't have to have it. It's not a legal requirement. So you can go through an inspection or a weigh station. You can show them your insurance policy, and you can have your Geico or general insurance for $100 a month. I'm going to keep recording here. YouTube, they have an issue with, I was trying to make some joke funny videos here for the channel, and my kid was included, and they kind of didn't put it out there. But this is my vlog, and it can be anything I want. So if YouTube doesn't let this video go out, I guess it's really on them. I'm a dad. I'm a pilot car. I'm a single dad who has his kids all the time, and or kids, shall I say. So it is what it is. She's my life. I can't, I guess, hide her from my channel all the time. Anyways, on to the next part here. $118,000 and the insurance. So you don't have to have special insurance in a bunch of states. I already said that. You'll be legal. You can run in that state, and if you get checked by the cops, you're good to go. $100 a month policy, that's fine. The issue with that is that insurance doesn't cover you anytime you're working for anything you're doing under any claims. So you could own a $20,000 SUV that's worth $20,000, and you come out and you take a job as a pilot car and take a run, and it's in a state where it's not required to have special insurance, so you don't, and now there's an accident. So when you have that accident, the first thing is you go in to put a claim. Let's say your vehicle's totaled, because that insurance covers your vehicle. So is there damage to your vehicle? Yeah, let's say it's totaled. Well, how did it happen? So let's talk about oversized trucking. There's going to be a police report. There's going to be damages. You're not going to be able to lie about how this accident happened. So the issue with that is when the insurance looks at it and they say, wait, what were you doing when you had that accident? And you say, well, I was being a pilot car for an oversized load on Interstate 70 in Indiana. And they go, whoa. That is not what we insured you for. You're not covered. So no coverage, because we were insuring you as a passenger vehicle to travel, not as a commercial line that's covering you under a certain industry or a sector of insurance. So now you have a totaled vehicle with no insurance coverage. They're not covering your loss. And then we can even take it one step further, is you're now uninsured for anything else you damage. Now, when you're doing this, if there's a big accident in trucking or oversized trucking, what's going to happen is all the sharks are going to come out. And by sharks, I mean people who pass the bar. For the trucking company, for the insurance on the other vehicles involved, or the property owners, or whatever it is. All of these sharks, as I like to call them, are going to come and they're going to take whatever they can from anybody who's involved. So now you don't even have the right insurance. They already told you they're not covering your car. Regardless, you're not covered, and they're all coming after you. That's all it is. So, do you own a home? Do you own anything? Do you have assets in the bank? Do you have retirement? Do you have 401ks or CDs or IRAs or any of these things? What assets do you have? Because these sharks can smell those assets from thousands of miles away, and you no longer have them, because you got insurance that was the only requirement by the law in that state, but that doesn't mean you were properly insured. So you've now lost anything that you do have. That's part one. Those are cheap insurance policies. So my insurance policy is running, and I actually have three. So my auto insurance policy is a commercial line, and it is almost $9,000 a year. That is just to insure my pilot car. $1 million policy or coverage, full coverage. But it is a policy designed around the work I do. So they know that's what I'm using the vehicle for. So they will cover me. But because of what we do, there's so much more exposure is the insurance term, I guess you would say. We're traveling the whole country or whatever it might be. There's a lot of exposure. There's higher risk. And usually any claims, the damages are way higher. It's way higher. Again, involve the sharks. They want to get every dollar they can get. So it's going to get really bad. So add your automobile insurance. Then there is two other insurances that are more like a personal business insurance. That is a professional liability and a general liability. That's a whole topic that I won't get into on this video for anybody who is a pilot car or has interest in being a pilot car, because there's a whole lot of debate, because there's a lot of groups on the internet, on, I'll call it social media, not maybe YouTube or whatever, but you can figure that out. There's a lot of groups and there's a lot of debate on that, and the one policy, which is usually pretty cheap, it could be $500 to $1,000 a year, but you will be told by the agent selling it to you that it literally covers nothing for what you do. It's a general liability policy. So you don't have a home office, you don't have employees coming, you don't have this, but it is a requirement by a state for you to have that to work in their state. But it covers nothing. So it's kind of like a catch-22 in the industry, where you're going to pay for it, but it pays for nothing. Amongst many other things you pay for that, are pointless. But we won't get into that topic, but we will say, in order to be able to work all of the job opportunities you can have, you have to have the commercial automobile, the professional liability, and the general liability. And between all three of those, so my insurance is running me ballpark, I think it's a little over $11,000 a year, so almost $1,000 a month, in order for me, or $11,000 a year in order for me to do this job. That's just part one, but that takes that 118 gross down to, are you sticking with me? My phone is going crazy, but it is a Friday night and everybody is looking for cars, and that's just going to keep chiming. So you've now taken $118,000, and when I say mine is around $11,000, so we'll bring it down to, we'll say $107,000 or $106,000. My insurance is covered. Well, that's fine. Now I drive at the time, a $45,000 vehicle purchased on a loan. My payment on that, because I bought that, let's say 2 years after COVID or 2.5 years, and the interest rates are through the roof at the time. I had probably a 730 or 740 credit score when I bought that van. Bought it through a local credit union, which are known for lower interest rates, and I still got a 10% interest rate, because that's how bad the economy or the industry or whatever you want to call it was. So it's a high payment, it's whatever, it's hard to double up. You look at it at the time, well, I need a vehicle. Used vehicles were double the price of what they should have been at the time, like a $6,000 to $7,000 van people were selling for $15,000. Well, I'm an idiot in a lot of ways in life, but I'm also not going to give somebody $15,000 for a 175,000 mile 15-year-old vehicle. Not going to do it. It's older, it's less reliable, you're going to be putting money into it, and when you break down on a load, not only is it a bad image, it's bad for the trucking company, it's bad for everybody involved, but it makes you look bad, and it could cost you work long term. Like, hey, that guy broke down on a load with us. He really, it really hosed us on it, and we're not using him anymore. So my thought process on that was I might as well get a newer vehicle. So 45 grand almost on this van, high interest rate and all that. So just making the bare minimum payment on my van is costing me, again, about $11,000. It's close to $1,000 a month on that payment. So now we're at basically $2,000 a month, or $24,000 a year for just the insurance and the vehicle. So that's fine. 24,000 off of 118. We're down into the, again, I'm not going to make a graph here or a chart here, but we're going to say you're dropped down into the 90s now off of, 118. So next is, well, unfortunately, even though I do drive a hybrid van, it's a plug-in, so it's electric, but it doesn't run off of solar panels. So what does it run off of? Well, it runs off of gasoline. It's has an engine. It runs off of gas, and I drive 100,000+ miles a year. Excuse me. So, with that said, that's about $20,000 a year in fuel. $400, $500, $700 a week sometimes on long jobs, maybe $800. Gas adds up real quick at $50 to $60 a tank, or if you went back a couple years ago when it was like $4 and $4.50 out on the West Coast, fuel is 100% the most expensive part of this job because it's driving. It's gasoline. The more you drive, the more you use, the more it comes off the back end. So even a great job, I could start out in Boston, Massachusetts, and I could drive all the way to Los Angeles. And the unfortunate part, well, you made money the whole way. Yeah, but all that gasoline to get me back into my neck of the woods to where I'm going to find work again, that's all on the back end. 2,000 miles, there's 2,500 miles, whatever it is, now you've got another $300-$400 on the back end of a job. So I have, I think, all in all on years, I've spent anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000 just on gasoline. So there's that. Let's just call it a round figure and call it 20. We'll take in the insurance and the automobile payment. Now remember, that's just making the payment on an automobile. And I'll get into why that's important shortly. But now we're at $40,000 to $45,000. So now we've taken the 118. Let's just take 40 off of it. So we're down to, what is that, 88? 78. Yeah, $78,000. It's good math, quick. I've been having some soda pops. So we're down to $78,000, and we've got our bases covered. We've paid for our insurance. We've made our vehicle payments every month, and we've covered all of our gas costs. And now we're down to, let's say, 75 to 80 grand. Well, what else is there? Well, now I go through at 100, 120. I think my best year was 125,000 miles. And you can be real good and you can rotate them and you can do all you want. But at the end of the day, that's 2 sets of tires per year. All right. Pardon the interruptions there. My kid keeps jumping in and out of the house and in and out of the doors. And trying to keep her out of the videos here, but where was I at? That was, we were down into the 70-some thousands there. That was after the gasoline and the insurance and the car payments. Now, the next part to take into account is the 2 sets of tires. per year. At least for me, doing 120,000 miles a year, going New York to California to Texas to New York, the miles add up so much quicker than you can even imagine. So, a couple sets of tires a year. My local Walmart does my oil changes, and my car takes synthetic oil, so you can, realistically do 10,000 miles. And if I'm out on a big long trip and get back, I can get pretty close to that before I'll change the oil. But I have had situations. I remember the look on the guy's face because they've worked there for years. I take it it's the same guys that have worked there forever. And they changed my oil. I went and did 2 trips and came home and had another trip lined up that was going to take me out of town and be a lot of miles. So I think it was like 10 days since he had done my oil change. And I walked in and he actually looked at me and went, "No way." And I said, "Look at the miles, man." And when you're doing 700 to 800 miles a day for 10 days straight, yeah, you're going to be real close to the cusp there. So now we're talking $70 oil changes, sometimes twice a month, at least once a month. So we've got tires, we've got oil, and as an independent contractor or sole proprietor working for yourself, all of the other things, because there is no warranty for our vehicles. Like if you buy a new vehicle and you have a factory warranty, that's fine. If you have an extended warranty on a vehicle, buying it used or whatever, that's fine, but those always cap out. So my van in the driveway has 225,000 miles on it. There's no warranty for that. If it is, it's pointless to pay for because it's going to be so expensive. It doesn't really, at least that I know of, maybe somebody can drop some knowledge down in the comments about an affordable thing that'll replace a $15,000 hybrid battery or a $10,000 engine, but I don't know that that's really feasible. So, as I was saying, independent contractor, working for yourself, high mileage vehicle, any breakdowns. My air conditioner went out on my van a few years ago, last year it went out on me, and no warranty. And it wasn't about the air conditioner, but because of the vehicle that I drive being a hybrid, it was shutting the vehicle down because the battery was overheating. Because I found out after it broke down like 3 times and then just started working. So I finally took it to the dealer, bit the bullet, and they said, yeah, because your AC doesn't work. That's what keeps the batteries cool. And the batteries got hot, makes the vehicle shut down, and you got to fix the AC. And so that was a $2,000 repair bill. Replaced whatever parts they replaced and got it working. When they got it together, it did say the code had thrown that said I needed to replace my battery, which, according to him, hasn't happened often. But he remembered the one time that he did quote one, and it was to the tune of around $15,000. So you can take a vehicle that you owe $30-some thousand on, find out it's broken, you have no coverage, and your only option is to come up with $15,000 to fix the battery or replace it. Luckily, I didn't have to do that, and they cleared the codes, and the battery was fine, so it didn't cost me that money. But the point of that is, all of these breakdowns are now off of that, whatever's left after those first 3 things: the insurance, the vehicle payments, and the gasoline. Now you have repairs and maintenance, which can cost you just some tires and oil changes, and maybe you're only $1,000 a year. Or you have some mechanical breakdowns, alternators, water pumps, cooling fans, all the things that can go wrong in an automobile. So you could have a year where your maintenance costs are $5,000 on top of that. Let's just take that off the top. We're in the $74,000 range now. So now we're in, let's just say, the mid 70s, and here's the next big ticket. So 200 and I think my biggest year was like 275 days of working days throughout the year. I'd been to the West Coast 3 times. Like I'd just been all over the country nonstop. My van as a pilot car, and the reason I have a minivan, which loses some benefits, but a good way to save money doing this is to set up a vehicle as a camper. Just like the truckers who, they have a cab, they have their sleeper berth in their truck, so they just sleep in their truck at the truck stop, and you stay with the load. And another reason being is I've been with loads in the middle of New Mexico where the town's 30 miles away, it's 9 o'clock at night, and you're rolling at 6 a.m. Are you going to drive another 30 or 40 minutes to go get a hotel at 10 p.m.? You haven't ate dinner yet, and you're going to check out of that hotel at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to get gas, get some food, get yourself ready, and get over to the load. Does not make sense. And that hotel's $140. So it's going to cost you more money. It's going to cost you another 2 hours of your day. And why not just be prepared, have food, and jump in the back of the van with a bed? So a lot of us do have that. But the reality of it is, in the summertime, when it's 115 degrees out, it's, especially my van, being as it's a hybrid, if you run in the summer with the heat, it gets really, really hot. Like the engine gets really hot. It's really bad on the car. So you can't sit there idling with your air conditioner all night, and I can assure you I'm not sitting in the back of a van, inches from death, sweating like there's no way possible. So now you have hotel costs, and I got a lot of hotels this year. The guys that I was working with weren't, a lot of the summer weren't big sleeping in the truck guys, and everybody's going to a hotel. It's 100 degrees out. If you're in Florida in July, you're not camping. And what you have to put into a vehicle in order to be able to do it all night is an insane amount of money to build that kind of a rig. And it's fine, and some people do that, but forget that. I'm going to get a hotel. So here's the real issue. An $80 hotel now it's an $80 hotel. And an $80 hotel now is what a $45 room used to be like before COVID. It is dirty. It is filthy. It smells. It probably has bugs. And regardless, you're going to itch when you leave. So, being realistic, a decent hotel room is going to cost you $140, $150 a night. And I've been in situations this summer where the room was $220 a night. And the whole crew's there. And because that's a $220 hotel and it's popular, even those really bad budget hotels, they've acclimated their price to reflect that nice hotel, so they're more expensive. If you only have 3 hotels in an area and one of them is a low dollar, I'm not going to name hotels in this video here, but it's a low dollar budget hotel, and then you have a nice, nicer one that has a restaurant in it and whatever. Well, that nicer one in the restaurant is going to be $230, but that hotel that should have been $90 a night is going to charge $160, because people don't want to spend $220 or $230, so that one's going to charge you even more. So the point of it is, if you're out of town 150, 200 nights a year that you're getting, even if you camp some of the time in the winter or when it's cooler out or whatever, you're going to get 50 to 100 hotels. Let's do some quick math. I'll use my calculator here on my phone, and let's just say the average room is $125, and you are out of town, and 100 nights out of the year you get a hotel room. Well, there's another $12,500, and that could be that could be a little high. You could camp a little more. You could have a better setup. And that could also be very low if you're in an area where work isn't right at your house. You're always going to be out of town. And if you're a little, what's the term, bougie, or you refuse to camp, or you don't have the vehicle to be camping in, you're going to be getting a hotel room. And let's say it's 150 nights a year. There's 15 grand. So we can take our mid 70s and we can drop it down to 60. Now you're almost $120,000 and we've gone down to 60 grand. The reality of it, you just covered your costs. Now you have to do your taxes. $60,000 after taking all of your expenses and your overhead and all your stuff off. And maybe you get a little depreciation on your vehicle if you have an auto payment or stuff like that. But that $60,000, you haven't paid for health insurance if you're not lucky enough to have a partner, a husband, or a wife that covers your insurance for you. You haven't taken into account health insurance. You haven't taken into account retirement savings. You haven't taken into account investing or paying your taxes on those earnings yet. So that $60,000, if you are trying to, have it be a job or a career or something you're going to do long term, you're going to take more down off of that. So give me 1 second. I'm actually going to think about the next thing that I say. Trying to come up with the thought process on how I want to explain the next part of this. So we can say you work a lot and you're lucky enough that you have customers and phone calls coming in, and you're staying steady with work, and you can work 250 days out of the year. And you can make, and I'm going to say, $120,000. You can make that, because that is I'm going to say, middle of the ground number as far as gross goes. And in order to make that, you are spending a lot of money. You're going to need the reliable vehicle. You're going to need the insurance. You're not going to get as much work unless you have the right insurance. People are cracking down on it. So it's a lot of brokers, a lot of people who hire off of like our boards and this and that. I hire some cars off the boards to work for some of my customers, and I get their insurance from them, make sure they're covered. And if you're not going to do it the right way, you're going to limit yourself for work. And even some of the trucking companies that hire the cars themselves are starting to look into it and make sure you are not risking their business or whatever they have going on by you not doing what you're required to do. So we've already taken off. You're working a lot. You have a lot of miles a year, a lot of gas a year. You're down into your 60s, 60,000 some dollars, and now you got to worry about taxes and filing your taxes, your self-employment taxes. Are you putting any money away for retirement? But now we have the bigger issue, which is, let's say you're at $60,000, but you are a contractor and you are working for other companies, or you are working for you're working for brokers, you're working for trucking companies. They're all hiring you as a self-employed individual, which means you're doing a job, you're giving them a bill, and then it's on them to pay you. Well, here's that part of the story. Do you have a lot of money in the bank for when they don't pay you? Do you have great credit and a high credit line on credit cards that you can cover your expenses, or big breakdowns, or just unexpected money getting ripped out of your pocket? Do you have a slush fund? Do you have the credit to do it? Do you have all that? Because the reality of it is, you can send a bill and you can have an arrangement and you can say, well, okay, I just did a $5,000 job and I'm going to have that money because it's due on Friday. And then Friday comes around and the money's not there. And it was supposed to be there, and you did the job and you talked to everybody. You even talked to the guy who hired you in the office of the trucking company. And man, he was friendly. And well, come Friday, the money's not there, and you implicitly put Friday, that's the due date. Okay, we got it all done. They got their load done. They're delivered, and they got paid, or however that works. But your money is not in your account now, or electronically transferred to you, or whatever deal that you had worked out with them when it all sounded good. So you go to reach out to them, and they don't reply. That you could be texting the same number from the dispatcher in the trucking company office at 1 o'clock on Friday saying, hey bud, my bill was due here today, just checking. And you don't get a response, and you never get a response again, and you never get a phone call. You can call them and they'll send you the voicemail, and that is the real reality of doing this job. Is there's not a whole lot of protections in place as a contractor. It's not like I'm a construction guy and the guy down the road hires me to do a job and he doesn't pay me. And then I go over to the local court and take him to small claims court and they garnish his wages or they do whatever. Now, there is avenues to collecting your money doing this if you get hosed. It's a good way to put it. I was going to say the other word, but I won't for YouTube's sake. Now you're getting hosed. They're not even responding. And some of these trucking companies, because there is thousands and thousands of these trucking companies, they just never have to answer you again. And they're also from, let's just say they're out of California and you're out of New York or like my area, Well, you can't take them to court in New York. You have to take them into court where they're established. So are you going to California to sue in small claims or put them into collections and spend more money doing all that stuff because they just took $5,000 in earnings from you? More people don't get their money out of those situations than people who do get their money. Like, it has to be, they're really special situations where you end up finally getting paid. And the issue with that is you put all your money and your time into doing that run. So you might take a run that's going to be it's a $5,000 bill when it's all said and done, and you were with them for 11 days or something, and you got hotels and you spent hundreds, if not $1,000 on gas, and you got hotel rooms and you had to eat dinner every night while you were on the road. So to make that $5,000, you spent, let's say, $1,000 or $1,200 or maybe even $1,500. Maybe you made $5,000 and you just live high off the hog and you spent $2,000. I'm not going to say I've done that. I've done that. But you are now hosed. You're not getting that money. You've outed that money. You've put that money out of your pocket. And now you're down. So you just used profit from another job, spent it on another company, and they're not paying you. That happens so many times a year to so many people who, in good faith and a handshake agreement, jump on these runs, and then they don't get paid, and all of a sudden they run to social media. I won't name it on here, but think of pages and groups, right? So they'll run over there and go, hey, I didn't get paid from so-and-so. And now, because they didn't do their homework and don't have the experience, everybody goes, ooh, yeah, you ain't getting paid, buddy. You should have came here first. You should have checked. That is the reality of the situation. Let's even call it another situation. Let's say you work for the same trucking company a lot or often, or let's say you work with the same trucking company for months in a row, and all you're doing is jobs for that trucking company because they're keeping you busy. Well, let's say they don't pay you, or they don't pay you on time. So if you've spent 2 weeks with a trucking company and you give them a bill, and now you are on another run with, let's say, the same trucking company, but for some reason they're late paying you. So you are now out the money that you spent to do that original run. You are now on a second run with them. Your invoice hasn't been paid, and you have bills of your own that need paid. You need to pay that vehicle, that insurance, and all that stuff. So unless you have a backing or a way to cover it, or a way to squeak by until the money situation is figured out, that's fine. But this can cost you so much more in the end than it's worth. So we've already broken it down, or I've broken it down here and explained that it is not, it's very expensive to do this job, and it works out really well for some people. I noticed the people it works out the best for are people who've already worked in another industry, or they've already retired, or they have pensions coming in and they don't like staying at home. But for a young person who doesn't have a substantial backing and doesn't have some money stashed away, or credit cards that they can run off of to fund their, new business venture, it can really hurt you a lot more than it can benefit you in a hurry. There's even the fact, I didn't bring this up, but there is what we have out here. We have pilot car brokers, which is the same as like a trucking company will take loads off of a board that a broker has, and the broker takes some of the money, and then gives them whatever they agree to on the price. The issue out here is, so it's crazy. There's a handful of brokers that are on the pilot car side of it that actually do it the right way, and they pay when they're supposed to, and they've made a good name for themselves and whatever else. The other issue is that there's a lot of dirtballs in the industry. There's a lot of these cars that came in during COVID that decided they were going to start hiring other cars, or they were going to get these customers, and they went in there cheap. Well, why are these pilot cars with zero experience? They've only been in it for 2 years, and they're not really good at being a pilot car as it is, but now they've decided to start putting loads on the load board also. And I'm new, I don't know what I'm doing, but I found out about this load board, so I jump on there and I take a load from A, B, and C transportation pilot car service, right? And I say, okay, yeah, I can do that run for you. And all in all, at the end of the day, that pilot car company you took the load from is just not going to pay you, because they've got their own issues. They're paying their own bills with the money. The amount of times I've seen it over the last 5 years is absolutely insane. Like, to get an example on social media where it's a $3,000 invoice, and well, they didn't pay me, and everybody's like, well, we don't even know who this pilot car company is. There's not even we can't even call them out on the internet or cost them business, because we've never heard of them, because they're new and nobody knows who they are, where they're from. So there's just a lot of risks involved with it. It's a very high expense job. You can be really cheap doing it. I camp. If you look at my vlogs, I camp like the best of them. I cook on the road. I cook out of my car. I enjoy the wild aspect of it, of being on the side of the highway in New Mexico or Arizona, where it's nothing but stars above you, and it's something cool that I think or whatever, and then I save that money that I would be, and the money and the time that I would be spending on hotels and all that. So, for some people, it is cool that way, and we enjoy what we do. There was something else I wanted to bring up, and that's what it is also. So we've taken our $120,000 almost, and we've taken close to 50%. But if you say somewhere between 40 and 50%, and you drop it down to a halfway number, and you go, well, that's still a reasonable earnings or a reasonable income or whatever. It seems fair. You haven't accounted that you are over the road, out of town, and not sleeping in your bed 200 nights a year. And some of your days are 14 hours, 16 hours long. There's really long days. The days you're not with a load, you could be driving 1,000 miles a day trying to get back to home or get back to get to your next load. The hours, the time away from home. I kind of look at a job where if I'm not at home, I should be getting paid. That is just kind of the way I look at it. And that is how I look at it in a whole, but you're not getting paid for all that time that you're not at home. So the truth behind it is it's a great job, and it can be exciting, and it can be all these things. Financially, it's not going to make you rich. You're going to be home a long, long time if you want to work. If you don't live in a convenient area where the loads are in your backyard and they're short and you can just do a day's work and be home by afternoon or whatever and go, yeah, I make good money. For most of the country and most of the pilot cars that do this, that is not the case. It's not the case at all. If you want the work, you're going to go far away to get to work and take it even further away to get to work. That's just the reality of it. You can ask a trucker. You can ask anybody. The people that have stuck it out are doing it because they enjoy the job. They're good at it. It's the freedom that it provides. But man, that TikTok video was so off. You are not making six figures. You are not putting six figures in your pocket when the year's done. And there might be a case here and there where somebody's making that kind of money. I can promise you that is like a unicorn, it doesn't exist, and somebody's in the perfect situation. And if they are making that kind of money like that, it is short-lived. It's not going to last forever. That is not you can't sustain that kind of money. So all in all, it's, I think I might have said that already. That is really the reality of it when you start talking about money and, how much you make and what the costs are. And I could have been a little over on some of my numbers. I like to pad them just a little bit because the reality of it is unexpected expenses are really what gets you in this. People not paying their bills on time or when they're due is what gets you in this. A good example of unexpected was I had broke down and bought a van from a dealer right where I broke down, and it was late and everybody was trying to get out of there, and I financed this van. I drove it home, and $24,000, I think, $25,000 I financed for it. 4 months later, 5 months later. Now remember, I'm doing an insane amount of miles. Like when I say insane, I mean I went to California, like I was driving 15,000 miles a month or something like that. But the van that I had just bought and financed $24,000 made a small little contact with a deer at a high rate of speed. And because of that, all the airbags went off and the van was a total bust. But now, 5 months later, maybe it was 6 months later, that van now had 80 or 90,000 more miles on it than when I bought it, because this is a high mileage transportation job. So it now had a lot more miles on it than when I financed it. And when I bought the van, being as late as it was, everybody was a hurry to get out of there, and I never ended up getting gap coverage on the van. Gap coverage covers what your insurance is going to pay, or they're going to cover what your insurance doesn't pay. If the insurance says your vehicle's worth less, but you owe more, that's where your gap coverage is going to pick it up. Well, the insurance came in. Now, mind you, I've had it 6 months. That $24,000 was down to, you're paying all interest at the beginning of an auto loan. So maybe I owed $22,000 or something, or $22,500, and the insurance company came in and said, well, because of the miles on the vehicle, let's just throw a number out there, we're giving you $16,000 for it. Not even close to paying it off. So now I'm out a van that I still owe $7,000 on, and I don't have a work car. So now I need to go finance another car or go buy another car. So for a few months there, I was making $1,600 or $1,500 in automobile payments, and I only had one of those cars, and only one of it was making money. So that is a really, really bad unexpected expense. And it was terrible. And it hurt financially, and those are the things that you can't plan for. So I'll wrap this up. There's a lot more about this that I think I might get into over some new vlogs, but I'm going to stick with the truck end and some other stuff on my videos. All in all, this is not something that you want to just dive into head first because you watch some of my YouTube videos and it looks really interesting, or you see them out on the highway and it looks really cool. It's really easy to get taken advantage of. It's really easy to not get paid. It's really easy to not have the knowledge to have what you need and all the requirements, and you think you're good, but you're not. So this is definitely for, the people who are, after this horrible video where I made this sound really, really bad and like, why do you do it? If you had interest in it, you really need to find a company that's been around a while, or you need to get in with a trucking company that wants to put a pilot car in their vehicle to run as an employee. You got to get some experience where somebody else is taking the risk with you rather than you taking all the risk yourself. A lot of the people I know that have been out here over the last few years, and even some of the older people and whatever else, when they got into doing it, even if it was after retirement or something like that, they knew somebody who did it, or they had a friend who did it. So they went with them, and they got all their knowledge from somebody who'd been out here doing it for 10 years. And because of that, they're okay. Add that to already getting a retirement or a pension or whatever else. So if they do lose some money along the way, or don't, somebody doesn't pay a bill, they're not, not paying their mortgage or losing their car or whatever you want to call it. So my advice after this terrible video of saying it's not that great and it doesn't pay that great of money, it supports my family, and I have enough, experience in it, but at this point that I kind of know what to expect. So it's not bad all in all, and it can be exciting, and it can be, I guess exciting covers the aspect of, I've been to 46 out of 48 states in the last 5 years. And before that, I was in New York, PA, and Ohio. That was it, so I've seen so many cool things. I've traveled everywhere. And that part really is cool. But if you think about it, if you're one of those people that were asking me on the lives and the vlogs, definitely find somebody, do some homework, find a way that you can, get into it with somebody who's already into it to gain your experience and get your feet wet. And that's really the only way you can find out if it's for you. And you really got to get the training, because a lot can go wrong in a hurry when a lot rides on you in doing this job. And I know I make my videos, and I know I've had my lives and all my stuff, but I've been doing it long enough that I know what's going on, and I know what's going on around me, and I'm still focused, and I'm doing all that. I just happen to have a camera now and put it on the internet for strangers to watch. So, check it out and really do your homework, and really try to meet with somebody who has some experience in it before you think my videos or what you see on the internet are a good way to get into it, because it's really not. Nothing I do online is to be taken as, well, this must be how you be a pilot car. It's not. I can assure you, you need real experience, real driver's seat or passenger seat experience, and it takes some time. I mean, I spent 6 months tagging along with people who were doing it before I ever even got behind the driver's wheel, shall I say, to jump in and do it myself. So good luck if you do your homework. And this is a kind of a one-of-a-kind vlog, as it is. Normally they're not just talking. They're normally trucking and whatever else, but I plan on making some more of these and talking about just about anything, because I've got new subs from the UK and Japan and South America, and this was very pilot car oriented as far as making this video. I've just been saying I was going to do it for so long now, and I'm sure it's going to sound like an hour-long ramble, I think, at this point. Hopefully that's not the case, and hopefully people watched it for more than a minute if they really had interest. But check out my channel, and if you like the vlogs and the heavy haul stuff, go ahead and subscribe, notification bells. My channel is just about to hit my requirements here for monetization, and that's going to be awesome. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I might never make any money off of it, but I know YouTube has been giving me notices and pushing my videos out to some other places outside of the US, and they've been giving me all these notifications about dubbing my videos into other languages and all the things that come with growing your channel and reaching milestones and all that. So check it out if you would, and thumbs up on these videos really do help. I don't know how, because I'm almost 40, and I spent my whole life telling my kids not everybody can be a YouTube star. You got to get an education and go to college, and well, now they've basically all gone to college and got an education and have real jobs, and Dad's sitting here going, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one, all right? That's how I'm going to finish this one. Appreciate it.